Oh yeah, what's up? It's Demented, and today I have another Liquipedia dump, and for the most part, a little bit of a discussion. I don't know how long this is supposed to be. It's supposed to be kind of shorter, since there hasn't been a lot of news realistically, but there were also a lot of moves made that I think are interesting and are kind of up for discussion a little bit. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Going all the way down, of course, I mean, as per usual, another fucking wave of people retiring from the game, which, you know, is sad, but it's understandable. There's actually a lot of moves happening in SA. Not exactly for the better, but just in general, people from SA making a bunch of plays or making a bunch of moves that I think don't really get talked about as much, and I think I can kind of bring a unique perspective into how I guess that could change for the future of South America. So pretty much, I am not entirely sure where I last left off, but I know for a fact I talked about Gablesy and We Want Owl, the new team. It's kind of weird and in a very weird spot right now. But moving on into the new stuff. First off, I don't really want to talk about Wub, mostly because I've heard a couple like rumors about him possibly getting picked up to other teams, but personally I don't know how much that's really going to I don't know how much of that's actually going to come true, to be brutally honest. I don't think there's going to be a lot of news coming out about Wub in the future, but if I'm wrong, you know, he's someone who's been grinding for a while, so I guess best of luck to him. But I wanted to talk about Qara. So Qara was a team I talked about I don't know how many weeks ago, because they made the pickups such as Moose and Angelic, and with those two pickups in particular, when I was talking about them in my last video, I was kind of bringing up the point of, you know, well, now they kind of have a direction to go in, and that they can start shooting to be more of a contenders team. But unfortunately, of course, that fell short because they are all now dropped. But with that, I do think something to kind of take away from that is that someone who I actually don't know if any of the staff have left, and I could be wrong in that, but also the staff aren't exactly like marked down for Qara, so I'm not entirely sure, but I know that I have definitely seen stuff about Pirate Flag, who, if you don't know, was someone who worked with Qara making a new project. So I guess that could just be kind of the direction they wanted to go in, instead of trying to build onto Qara, just kind of scrap it and build again from the ground up. Maybe this next project team comes out still includes Moose and Angelic, for all we know, since those are the two I guess kind of comm-centric roles, and they both got picked up at the same time. That wouldn't surprise me at all if a team were to kind of come out of the, I guess, woodworks in a way, and just bring up these two players and kind of build a new roster out of it. So with that as well, on to these two pickups. So let me get rid of those marks and show that fucking Valentine and Faith, these I think are the two single biggest moves of the off season. Now that is a bit of a statement, and I know that, but I can justify it by saying now not only does, because now, so this obviously is like a very fucky IS roster right now, but basically right now and I also I brought this up in my last video, but like now Uprising are a singular Gablesy away from being a full Korean roster. Sure, you have Soon, sure you have Punk, sure you have Fusions and Color Hacks, but like realistically, like, just if they can elevate Gablesy, who is 18, like, then they're already, like, they don't have to worry about a, which is what they're gonna have to worry about right now, which I is like a big language barrier, which I think is a huge thing in terms of synergy. And I don't know if it's maybe Koreans can be like more condensed in how they say stuff, or say like better say a lot with a little, but overall, like, this and a lot of people are starting to turn heads at this roster. So going over the roster in its entirety, so now that I'm actually like diving deep into my thoughts about it, I think it's probably going to be a longer video than I at least thought. So support line I think is great. Myungbong and Faith, who I've been literally vouching for since the fucking beginning of the off season. I wanted people to pick up Faith. I mean that, and also I was like, dude, Bliss is fucking insane. And then I figured out Bliss is like 15, so that's unfortunate. Going into, I mean, like, those two in particular are highlights on this roster. And then I mean, I'm not too big on this DPS line, which I can get rid of stuff. And then this DPS line, it wants to do a lot of things, but with I'm 37, Color Hex, and Soon, I think they might be playing into specific hero pools. So I think in the past what they've done a lot with, and I could be wrong in this, but what's been very commonly used with Color Hex is the flexibility that he's had, and they kind of use that to kind of push whatever they want, or just whatever they really need from a DPS player that they don't already have. They kind of just shove Color Hex like to the side and are just like, learn this, and then he comes out at least like basically knowing it. Whether he's very standout on it is something different in its entirety, but them picking up Valentine, they don't have to worry about they don't have to worry about anything close to I think flex DPS, I believe. That's what Valentine is. So for the most part, realistically, I don't see a universe where Color Hex plays. Realistically, I don't know why I'm trying to think of it very much, but the way that I think of it is basically Valentine has all of your flex DPS covered. Soon for stuff like your Tracer, your Sombra, your more flanker type characters, and then I'm 37 for snipers. So nothing too crazy there. But moving on to tank line, I still really wish they just elevated Gablesy. But I'm gonna go back to Uprising Academy in a second. But moving forward with this, seeing Fusion still on the roster, I'm not too happy about that in particular, but what that tells me is it's either based off them being like, alright, who just doesn't want to get dropped last season from whatever weird contracting that they did, because instead of just dropping the entire roster, they like asked people who still believes in the roster pretty much, and who still believes in a future for themselves, and a lot of people didn't. So that's why most people stuck with it, and at least that was what was alleged by most people. So hearing Fusion still on the roster is a little aggravating, mostly just because there's not a universe where I feel like Stanley doesn't play over Fusion. But I mean, on top of that, Punk showed a pretty good amount of promise going into, or at least the amount that was played by Punk last season. And anytime Mikey went in, the team just looked worse, to be honest. So in general, I think best play for them is to raise Gablesy up, but if They refuse to do that and stick with Punk. I think Punk is going to be a very middle of the pack off tank. Nothing stand out, but nothing that's going to limit the roster overall. But now, if you look at the roster as a like cohesive piece, pardon me, things that I like are Valentine, Faith. I'm tempted to even say that I like Stan 1. I mean, on top of that, there's like Myungbong, who I was really big on if you go back and watch my support tier list. I mean, I'm 37 has always kind of been really good on the snipers, and as long as they keep I'm 37 to snipers and keep Soon to the more flanker and more I guess something like that, or of that nature, then that's going to be like so much more elevating overall. But on top of that, I don't think anything else is really like standoutish. I would have to see more of Stan 1 overall, but I think Stan 1 was mostly played more as like the ball, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know how much synergy Stan 1, because also Stan 1 was signed forever ago compared to some of these other people. So keeping I guess tabs on how long Stan 1 has kind of been able to build synergy with other people, that's huge, and I think it's pretty fucking cool, seeing that they kind of 180'd their roster a little bit, and now people that were all like, all right, obviously Boston's got to be like bottom like 6, bottom 8, or even just like 100% at the bottom half, now kind of have to eat their words in a bit, and I think that's insane that they were able to do as big of a turnaround as that. I think that's fucking great for them. So without out of the way, so talking about some retirements. So McGravy retired, and I think the only people that I really know, I played against Niall in scrims, but other than that, the only person that you would really want to look at is probably AFox. So I simply do not care that AFox retired. That's fine. And Niall, I didn't get to play too much with, but from my understanding, I really like their name, but I didn't think they were anything standoutish as a player. But they were on Warpigs, who I think was probably one of the better SA contenders teams, which I'll get more into NA contenders later. But like, man, I don't know, there's just these waves of people retiring. I don't know if it's just like recent or like whenever news comes out about like the possibility of, like, obviously there were leaks floating around on Twitter about like, man, Overwatch 2 isn't going to be released until 2022, and then immediately people just are like, yeah, fuck that, and then just retire instantly. But not to get too off track here, I want to look into these two drops. Now, I don't know if these are drops or quote-unquote mutual, I guess, departures in a way. So Dala is someone who I looked at, and I think Dala has potential. I don't know where to exactly rank them yet. They're on kind of a teeter-totter for me, which I'm very hard on main support. So doing that, let alone, is pretty like convincing to me that there has to be something there that like could make them one of the next best main supports. But like the work and the effort needs to be shown and seen in the next couple months of play. So moving on, Maximus, I don't know much about Maximus actually, but I mean, is this, I'm trying to because I don't know if this is Gummy just with a changed name. Is Gummy, I'm sorry I'm doing this on the fly, but like, okay, so it's not Gummy, but It's basically someone who was the, I'm assuming, sub slash kind of like backup for Gummy. So with that, I don't think they're losing much. I don't even know too many people on the Susanna roster still. But, I mean, them losing Maximus, I guess, isn't really going to affect their roster or whatever. So, moving on to Uprising Academy. So, what I think is going to be really fucking interesting going into next season, there's actually a couple interesting things. So, these three left the team. I need to actually check Twitter and see when they all left, because they all left at the same time, but apparently something got leaked that they needed to that made them be like, well, with these Uprising leaks coming out, I guess I'm LFT. So looking at that, I'm probably gonna have to look more into that. But I'm also interested in why they kept False of all people. So False isn't someone I know too much about, so let me just check. So it's an off tank. So they're probably going down too, since they signed Gable C. So with this, going into a full Korean roster for an Uprising Academy, I don't know how well that's going to go, simply because they would still be competing in NA, I believe, unless they for some reason like just go full Korean, and then they're just like, yeah, we're just going to play in Korea. I don't know how that would work realistically, so I would have to kind of think about it more, but this could kind of be a bust if they don't do it right. So Swoon was picked up a fucking while ago, and I brought that up, and I think Swoon was one of the better flex supports to come out of Korean contenders, and then just kind of didn't get talked about as soon as they like kind of fell onto Uprising Academy. So with that, I really hope the same thing doesn't happen to Gable C, because Gable C had a lot of potential, as well as Swoon. So it's kind of going to be a weird thing, because they also could elevate a bunch of people from the I don't know what roster it was, from the WGS roster, or just scrap together a whole bunch of people, because I think Swoon was from Talon, and just try to kind of piece together a held by duct taped team to compete in NA contenders as a full Korean team. And I mean, if they end up doing that, I'm fucking happy for them. I would love to see that as well, where although there's going to be a ping diff, no matter what, you're going to be able to see how the Korean teams in Gauntlet rival NA teams, and if really the gap is as big as we're thinking, or if it's going to be another thing like EU, or NA versus EU, which is for the most part pretty underwhelming in my opinion. Moving on, there's two more things that I want to do actually, but I mean, Surefour moving to streaming doesn't surprise anyone, so I didn't want to talk about that too much, just to cover that up. But this is a interesting thing. So I don't want to butcher this team's name, so I'm not even gonna try. So with this, I don't know where or what kind of direction this means SA Contenders goes from here, because you have, this is 4 SA players retiring, and then an entire team that's also retiring, or not retiring, but like getting dropped. And I want to think less about what this drop means short term and more what it means in the grand scheme of South America and them as a just as a, I guess, region, because South Korea started kind of making a name for itself in not many good ways. The only real person that has made it straight out of South American contenders was, I believe, Alamo, and who played on NYXL, obviously, and I don't know what they're doing now, but with that, still, like I don't know what this is supposed, because I went to their Twitter and I like saw some of their tweets translated. Fuck, dude. Apparently they're all just like, yeah, we're done playing in contenders, and I mean, they didn't have a very good track record of doing well in contenders, so they kind of just I guess stopped being really competitive, and now they're just boosting and selling accounts. So I mean, I guess cool, but the very last thing that I want to take a look at were some leaks that came out. So some leaks that came out were that the main part of what is soon to be the LA Valiant, and this was by Halo, I believe, was that this was going to be the main kind of core that they're going to build their team around. So I don't know how to feel about that, really, because this is a team that like has a few like good things under its belt, but in the more like in the most recent stuff didn't do that well. So thinking about that, like, sure, you have a couple people that are being elevated, such as I just call them Where You At in Crystal. Those, like I don't know, man. It's a very risky thing in my opinion. But also a part of the deal is that these two are actually going to go back to this roster. I don't know who the other person was, but we also got it confirmed that it wasn't Dia, or at least Dia weren't in the leaks according to the sources, which, in my opinion, still means to me that either the hit scan role is starting to become the new off tank role, where it's like, okay, you're going to start seeing really good off tank players kind of leak into contenders and all this other stuff because of how high the skill level is. And that, I feel like it's starting to get there with hitscan, where, you know, you're starting to get so many good hitscan players that people like Dia are going to, especially if Dia's asking for too much in terms of money, are just going to fall below. And I think it's very unfortunate, but I mean, if the leaks are true, picking up this, I saw, in the best way that I can put it, I saw nothing in this team, realistically. Nothing standoutish. So, if I had to kind of, I guess, put them on a list compared to other teams, and if they all get elevated, fucking good luck, dude. Yikes. It's gonna be rough. It's gonna be so fucking rough for them to really get to the level that they need to be. But on top of all of that, it's been 24 minutes. Unfucking fortunate. So I'm gonna cut it off there. I was gonna slip in a little part about the new OD changes, but for the most part, if you want to learn about the new OD stuff, I advise you to, let me pull it up real quick. If you're interested in learning about Open Division and basically how it's going to look, because that's a big chunk of why I'm busy right now, is because I really want to make sure I'm working hard in terms of thinking about the game and just overall looking into you know, competing in Open Division. And I think with that, like, Open Division is very weird right now, so I would definitely recommend to check out this OD clarification thing that Aqua made. I can put it in the description if I remember to, And I think that's it. I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. If there's any news or anything that you want me to, I guess, cover in my next Liquipedia dump, as well as leaks, be sure to link me them down below or let me know. I appreciate all of it. If you want to reach me and see when I upload, I always tweet it, and I will see you when I see you later.